Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, especially for the Lion's Den fam and, well, all our listeners, we're going deep. We're digging into the mind of a visionary whose words, written, over a century ago, still hit really hard.
They absolutely do. They resonate with the challenges, the opportunities we face right now in business in our own lives.
Exactly. And we're talking about someone whose whole philosophy wasn't really about lofty, abstract ideals.
No, much more practical. It was about collective action, real steps towards self-empowerment.
That's Marcus Garvey.
Indeed. And here on the Deep Dive, our mission, as always, is to take these complex sources. Today, it's the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, which was meticulously edited by Amy Jacques Garvey.
A crucial piece of work in itself.
Absolutely. And we distill these sources into, well, actionable insights. The goal is to help you get better informed, faster, and really grasp the lasting power of these kinds of ideas.
And that's exactly the plan today. We are plunging into Marcus Garvey's profound teachings, pulling out his core principles.
We'll explore how his, let's be honest, radical calls for self-reliance, for economic independence, for organized power, how they offer really surprising, enduring lessons.
For your business ventures, right? For your career path, your whole personal journey today, it's incredibly relevant.
Yeah, so prepare for something more than just a history lesson.
Definitely.
We're going to unpack some surprising facts, maybe challenge some conventional wisdom about things like ambition and success, and hopefully uncover some nuggets of wisdom that could spark those real aha moments for how you approach power, community, ambition, growth, all of it.
Okay, let's dive in then. We should probably start where Garvey himself often did. The foundation, the self, individual empowerment.
Makes sense.
And for him, a really crucial first step on that journey was understanding history. Not just knowing it, but seeing it as an indispensable guidepost.
Yes, he firmly believed, I'm quoting here, history is the landmark by which we are directed into the true course of life.
Wow. So the past of a movement, a nation, a race, that was the guidepost of that movement's destiny.
Exactly. But what's really fascinating, I think, is how he saw history. It wasn't about memorizing dates and kings, the way it's often taught.
Right, not just trivia.
No, he saw it as this dynamic data set, a huge repository of patterns. It shows what worked, what strategies led to success, and maybe even more importantly, what approaches just failed spectacularly.
Okay, so learning from mistakes, basically.
Learning from mistakes, learning from triumphs. By understanding these patterns, you're not just looking backward, you're actually gaining foresight.
Yeah.
You can consciously chart a better future, avoid the old pitfalls, use the proven methods. He wasn't about just passively observing the past.
No, it sounds like active learning.
Very active.
It also sounds like a powerful argument against just, well, sitting back and hoping for the best, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. He explicitly stated, action, self-reliance, the vision of self and the future have been the only means by which the oppressed have seen and realized the light of their own freedom.
The only means that strong.
It is. And he was quite direct, almost blunt about it. Chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people.
So forget luck. Forget waiting for things to change on their own.
He completely dismissed that. Any passive waiting for change or hoping for some lucky break, he wasn't having it. It's a total rejection of fatalism.
Yeah.
He's essentially saying freedom, progress, they aren't granted. They aren't gifts. They have to be actively forged.
You make them happen.
You make them happen. And he hammered this home with an even bolder statement. There is nothing in the world common to man that man cannot do.
Okay, hold on. Nothing that man cannot do. That's incredibly assertive.
It is. It's a statement of absolute human capability. It just strips away any excuse for inaction that might be rooted in perceived limitations.
It's especially powerful for his audience facing huge systemic barriers.
Exactly. It instilled this sense of agency that just flew in the face of the prevailing narrative of their time. It was revolutionary.
So we're talking about more than just data-driven decisions in a business meeting. It's a historically informed, proactive approach to life itself.
Precisely.
How does this translate today, then? For our listeners, maybe running a business, navigating a career.
Well, connecting it directly. For your business, it means meticulously studying market trends, yes, but also analyzing competitor strategies, doing honest postmortems on your own company's history, the wins and the losses.
Especially the losses, maybe.
Maybe especially the losses.
Yeah.
It's not about dwelling, but extracting those crucial lessons to inform your future decisions. Build a roadmap based on evidence, not just hope.
Right, not just launching something and crossing your fingers for that lucky break.
Exactly. Think of say, a software startup. If they meticulously analyze the rise and fall of similar platforms, identify critical mistakes in scaling or monetization or user engagement,
They learn from others' history.
yes, they adapt their strategy based on those historical lessons rather than just pushing a product out there and hoping for the best.
And personally, that chance has never satisfied idea. It really hits home. We hear about overnight success all the time, but Garvey's reminding us that real sustainable progress, that comes from deliberate effort.
It does. Personally, it's about taking radical initiative, setting clear, measurable goals for your career, your personal development, understanding that your destiny is largely in your hands, not left to chance or, what other people decide for you.
So taking control.
Taking control. Consider someone wanting to switch industries. Instead of passively waiting for the perfect job ad, they dive deep. They research the industry's history, identify key players, skill gaps,
Uh-huh.
and then they proactively acquire those skills courses,
Yeah.
side projects, networking. They build their own momentum, learning from those who've made similar moves. They create their own opportunities.
That's Garvey's history as guidepost in action right there.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes total sense. And building on that idea of purpose and agency, Garvey had a very clear definition of life's purpose and the absolutely crucial role of ambition within that.
Yes, he saw life as, and I quote, that existence that is given to man to live for a purpose, to live to his own satisfaction and pleasure, providing he forgets not the God who created him.
So it's purposeful, satisfying, but also connected to something larger, a divine source.
Right. What's fascinating is how he weaves together individual fulfillment and this larger, purposeful existence. Life wasn't just random events or a struggle for survival. It was endowed with inherent meaning, a meaning each person had to discover and fulfill.
And ambition plays a key role in that fulfillment.
A massive role. His view of ambition was so robust, he defined it not as just wanting stuff, but as the desire to go forward and improve one's condition.
Okay.
It is a burning flame that lights up the life of the individual and makes him see himself in another state.
Wow, a burning flame. That's powerful imagery. It suggests ambition isn't just wanting, it's transforming.
It absolutely is. To be ambitious is to be great in mind and soul, to want that which is worthwhile and strive for it, and to go on without looking back, reaching to that which gives satisfaction.
Worthwhile, satisfaction, not just external markers like money or status.
Precisely. For Garvey, ambition wasn't greed. It was this transformative internal drive to achieve meaningful, deeply self-satisfying progress.
How does that apply, say, to a business today, beyond just profit?
Well, it directly applies to defining a clear purpose for your business that goes beyond the quarterly earnings report. What fundamental problem are you really solving? What lasting value are you creating? Is your burning flame ignited only by profit, or is there a deeper mission driving you?
So the why behind the what.
Exactly. And personally, it's about cultivating that strong internal desire to grow, to constantly seek meaningful self-improvement, pursuing goals that bring you genuine, profound satisfaction, not just, external accolades, fancy titles, or likes on social media. It really challenges you, the listener, to identify what is truly worthwhile in your own pursuits, something that connects with your core purpose.
Think about a company with a strong mission like innovating sustainable energy, maybe.
Right. Or creating accessible healthcare tech, their operational choices, their long-term vision.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally different from a company solely focused on maximizing short-term profit. Their ambition looks different.
And for a person?
Same principle.
Ooh.
Think of someone driven by personal mastery in their craft, a musician aiming for emotional depth, a programmer obsessed with elegant code versus someone only chasing the next salary bump or promotion. That internal flame, that Garvey-esque ambition, directs their efforts differently and defines what satisfaction truly means to them.
It really gives ambition a soul, doesn't it? A deeper meaning.
It does.
And perhaps one of Garvey's most, central tenets, foundational to all this individual empowerment, was unlocking that inner power through confidence, through self-knowledge.
Oh, absolutely foundational. He declared, if you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life.
Twice defeated.
With confidence, you have won even before you've started.
That's an incredibly bold claim about the power of belief. Just believing is half the battle. Or maybe more.
Or maybe more. But we need to ask, what did he mean by confidence and self-knowledge? Because he wasn't talking about mere ego or, just puffing yourself up.
Right, not just bravado.
No. He viewed man as the individual who was able to shape his own character master his own will, direct his own life, and shape his own ends. Self-mastery was key.
Okay.
He went on to say that God bestowed upon him the authority of Lord of creation. He never intended that that individual should descend to the level of a peon, a serf, or a slave, but that he should be always man in the fullest possession of his senses and with the truest knowledge of himself.
Lord of creation. That's a radical reframing of potential, especially given the context he was speaking in. People were being systematically denied their basic humanity.
It's a complete inversion of the power structures of his time.
Mm.
And it wasn't just a nice metaphor for him.
No.
It was a core belief, he declared. For man to know himself is for him to feel that for him there is no human master. For him, nature is his servant. If he wills to be a real man in possession of the things common to man, then he shall be his own sovereign.
His own sovereign. So self-knowledge and confidence weren't just personality traits. They were the basis of true freedom, of agency.
Foundational to overcoming oppression. It was about reclaiming this inherent, almost God-given authority over your own destiny. Refusing to be defined or limited by external forces, by other people's perceptions, by systemic injustice.
This is way beyond self-help slogans. It's a declaration of inherent sovereignty, a psychological, even spiritual liberation.
Precisely. And the implications were huge for his audience. He emphasized that if 400 million Negroes can only get to know themselves, to know that in them is a sovereign power, is an authority that is absolute, then in the next 24 hours we would have a new race.
Or resurrected.
Resurrected, not from the will of others, but from our own determination to rise. This teaching is so relevant today for developing that unshakable self-belief, especially when you're in competitive or challenging situations.
So, for a business, it translates to really knowing your unique value, having unwavering confidence in your product, your service, asserting your place in the market.
Yes, being conviction-led, not constantly looking over your shoulder for approval from competitors or critics.
Yeah, and personally.
It's about cultivating that deep, unwavering self-belief from within. Truly understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, acknowledging them, and crucially, taking absolute ownership of your choices and outcomes.
Not blaming circumstances.
Right, not feeling like a victim of fate, becoming your own sovereign in your life and work, just like he said, the master of your destiny.
Like that entrepreneur who pitches with total conviction despite rejection after rejection.
Exactly. They don't just believe in the product, they believe in their capacity to make it happen.
Yeah.
Or the person who takes control of their career, defines their expertise, builds their network, instead of just waiting for opportunities to fall into their lap. It's that profound inner certainty, rooted in self-knowledge, that makes the difference.
It really frames the individual journey as one of deep self-discovery and empowerment. Okay, so from this strong individual foundation, it seems clear that for Garvey, individual power wasn't the end goal, it was a stepping stone.
A precursor, yes,
Mhm.
to a larger collective ambition.
Which brings us perfectly to his vision for building strength through organized power, education, and unity. And he really didn't mince words about the need for power, did he?
Not at all. He asserted the only protection against injustice in man is power. Physical, financial, and scientific.
The only protection, again, very stark.
But what's crucial is how pragmatic, almost clinical, his view of power was. It wasn't about dominating others necessarily. It was a necessary tool, fundamental for self-preservation, for progress in what he clearly saw as a competitive, often hostile world. He stated, except the individual, the race, or the nation has power that is exclusive, it means that that individual, race, or nation will be bound by the will of the other who possesses this great qualification.
So if you don't have exclusive power, you're controlled by those who do.
That was his assessment. And he saw power as multifaceted intellectual, economic, political strength, not just brute force.
He wasn't talking about just influence then, or trying to persuade people nicely.
No, something far more tangible, more compelling. He even noted, man is not satisfied or moved by prayers or petitions, but every man is moved by that power of authority which forces him to do even against his will.
Wow. That's a pretty stark view of human nature. Maybe cynical, but perhaps realistic, especially given his experiences.
It's a very direct assessment of how the world, in his view, actually operates. And this is incredibly relevant for your business today in this competitive landscape.
How so?
It means strategically acquiring and leveraging all forms of resources. Financial capital, yes, but also intellectual property, patents, top-tier talent, significant market share.
Building leverage.
Exactly. It's understanding that real influence, respect, the ability to negotiate effectively. It often comes from demonstrated strength, competence, having a tangible edge, not just good intentions.
So like a tech company pouring money into R&D, getting patents.
Precisely. Or a pharmaceutical company building huge cash reserves to weather storms or fund massive trials. That's Garvey's exclusive power in action.
Yeah.
It allows them to dictate terms to some extent.
So it's not enough to have a great idea. You need the power to execute it, protect it, scale it. Otherwise, you're always vulnerable.
That sums it up well. And personally, it's about investing in your own power. Continuous, high-value learning, financial literacy, building wealth, developing robust, indispensable skills that make you highly valued,
Making yourself indispensable.
or at least highly valued. It underlines the importance of building a strong position so you can negotiate effectively for a salary, a project, even just setting personal boundaries. Think of the person who consistently upskills, masters new tech, complex problem-solving, leadership. They become the linchpin.
Right. They've built intellectual and practical power. It commands respect, gives them options.
Exactly.
Building on that, Garvey also had this very distinct, holistic view of education. It went way beyond just formal schooling.
Oh, absolutely. He stated that education is the medium by which a people are prepared for the creation of their own particular civilization and the advancement and glory of their own race.
Their own civilization, their own glory, not just fitting into someone else's system.
Exactly. That's what's fascinating. His definition was so expansive, especially compared to the educational ideas of his time, which were often about vocational training or assimilation. He saw education as transformative, enabling a people to build their own thing.
So what did that entail?
He elaborated. To be learned in all that is worthwhile knowing. Key phrase, worthwhile knowing.
Okay.
Not to be crammed with the subject matter of the book or the philosophy of the classroom, but to store away in your head such facts as you need for the daily application of life,
Practical application.
so that you may the better in all things understand your fellow men and interpret your relationship to your Creator. It wasn't just academics, it was real-world knowledge, applied wisdom.
And he even brought in emotional intelligence, spiritual understanding.
Yes. He said you can be educated in soul, vision, and feeling, as well as in mind.
Wow.
To see your enemy and know him is a part of the complete education of man. To spiritually regulate oneself is another form of the higher education. And still, to approach your brother by the feeling of your own humanity is an education that softens the ills of the world and makes us kind indeed.
That's incredibly profound. Connecting practical knowledge, empathy, self-awareness, even spiritual well-being. That's all part of true education for him.
It really is. Education wasn't just theoretical, not just about getting credentials. It was holistic. Practical knowledge, deep self-awareness, spiritual development, human understanding, all geared towards real-world application and lifting everyone up.
It challenges the idea of education just being about getting a certificate or a job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For your business, it means emphasizing practical, problem-solving skills, continuous training that tackles real challenges, and, crucially, cultivating emotional intelligence and empathy within teams.
Why crucial?
Because those are the skills that drive real innovation, effective collaboration, resilient leadership, not just ticking boxes on procedures.
And personally, it's a call to lifelong learning, but broader than just degrees.
Much broader. Focus on practical, actionable skills. Develop self-awareness through reflection. And develop empathy. These are absolutely essential for effective leadership, successful negotiation, building strong relationships, professional and personal.
Like a business training program that uses real case studies, ethical dilemmas, forces collaboration.
Exactly. Moving beyond just technical skills to a deeper understanding. Or an individual who actively seeks diverse perspectives, reads widely, cultivates humility, constantly refining their inner compass. That's Garvey's holistic education, preparing you not just for a job, but for life's complexities.
Okay, so once you're educated in this broad sense, you started grasping your individual power. The next logical, absolutely critical step for Garvey was organization.
Yeah.
Unity.
Yes. He identified disorganization as, quote, the greatest weapon used against the Negro.
The greatest weapon.
And he didn't pull punches, warning that the world does not count races and nations that have nothing, meaning unorganized groups just lack influence, they don't register.
So being disorganized makes you invisible or at least irrelevant on the world stage.
That was his view. And this raises a huge question for any group trying to achieve something big. How do you stop internal divisions from tearing you apart, especially when outside pressure is intense?
Right.
Garvey cautioned against exactly that. The thing to do is to get organized. Keep separated and you will be exploited, you will be robbed, you will be killed. Get organized and you will compel the world to respect you.
Get organized or get exploited. Stark choice.
For him, unity and structure weren't options. They were existential necessities. The only defense against exploitation, the only way to command respect and achieve collective goals.
He really laid out the stakes, not just efficiency, but survival, self-determination. He noted the mighty forces of the world are operating against non-organized groups of peoples who are not ambitious enough to protect their own interests.
It speaks to a fundamental reality of power dynamics, doesn't it?
It does.
And this principle is fundamental for any successful endeavor. A small team, a huge corporation, a global movement. In business, it means building strong, cohesive teams, clear roles, open communication, robust, adaptive structures.
Things that can withstand shocks.
Exactly. It also points to the power of things like industry associations, strategic partnerships, collective bargaining, basically, using collective strength for common goals you couldn't reach alone.
Like industry groups setting standards or lobbying, pooling resources.
Right, and beyond just internal structure, it's about strategic alliances, a united front against external challenges too.
And personally.
It highlights the immense importance of your network, surrounding yourself with supportive people, mentors, peers, maybe a personal board of advisors, collaborating on shared goals, consciously avoiding isolation, which leaves you vulnerable and limits your impact.
It's the difference between a company crippled by internal politics versus one where everyone's aligned, pulling together.
A huge difference. Or personally, the professional who actively networks, joins associations, seeks masterminds, versus the one trying to go it entirely alone. Garvey's message is clear. Unity doesn't just multiply strength, it's a prerequisite for survival and respect.
Okay, we've covered the individual foundation, the building blocks of strength, power, education, organization. Now let's get into the economic and ethical foundations Garvey insisted on.
Crucial elements.
Absolutely. Starting with his belief in industrial and economic self-sufficiency. He stated, flat out, every student of political science, every student of economics knows that the race can only be saved through a solid industrial foundation, and that the race can only be saved through political independence.
What's critical there is the direct link he makes. True freedom, true respect are intrinsically tied to financial and industrial power. He didn't separate them.
And he was blunt about the alternative. Take away industry from a race, take away political freedom from a race, and you have a group of slaves.
It's a powerful, almost brutal framing of economic dependency as a form of subjugation. And he was deeply critical of relying on external goodwill.
Right, the philanthropist point.
Yes. The Negro who lives on the patronage of philanthropists is the most dangerous member of our society because he is willing to turn back the clock of progress when his benefactors ask him so to do.
Wow. That suggests relying on charity, even well-intentioned, actually undermines progress because it compromises your agency.
That was his argument. It's a precarious position. It ultimately undermines self-respect and your ability to set your own course. He saw economic self-determination as non-negotiable.
It's a strong statement against relying on handouts, basically saying if you're not building your own, you're always at someone else's mercy.
Exactly. He observed that the prosperity people were experiencing then, in terms of jobs, was purely accidental, driven by others' needs. And he predicted, our occupations will be gone from us, because those for whom we filled the places will soon appear. A foresighted warning about the temporary nature of opportunities if they aren't internally driven, self-created.
So what was the solution?
He urged people to adjust his own economic present in readiness for the future. A race that is solely dependent upon another for its economic existence sooner or later dies.
Sooner or later dies, that's existential.
It is, and this is so relevant for your business. Strive for diverse revenue streams. Build internal capabilities. Don't just outsource everything critical. Avoid situations where one client, one supplier, one factor holds too much sway.
Build a robust, self-sustaining economic engine.
Exactly. One that isn't easily knocked over by external winds or market shifts. It's about building an economic fortress, not just a storefront.
And personally,
It means pursuing financial literacy, maybe exploring entrepreneurship, cultivating multiple skills so you're not dependent on one employer, one income source.
diversification of self.
In a way, yes. And it subtly implies a responsibility, perhaps, to contribute to collective economic uplift, not just individual gain at the community's expense.
Like a business investing in its own manufacturing, controlling its value chain.
Yes, versus one totally reliant on foreign suppliers, vulnerable to disruptions, or an individual investing in their own ventures, building assets, diversifying skills, rather than just relying on one job that could vanish. That's economic self-sufficiency in practice.
Now, this brings us to a really provocative statement Garvey made about poverty. He called it a hellish state to be in. It is no virtue, it is a crime.
Strong words.
Very strong. And he described its effects vividly. To be poor is to be hungry without possible hope of food, to be sick without hope of medicine, to be naked without the hope of clothing, to be despised and comfortless. To be poor is to be a fit subject for crime and hell. This completely rejects any romantic notion of poverty.
Completely. He saw poverty not just as misfortune, but almost as a moral failing, something that leads people to despair, dehumanization, destructive behavior. It strips away dignity and agency.
And he contrasted it with wealth.
Yes. He said one lives in an age like this nearer perfection by being wealthy than by being poor,
Near perfection.
but with a crucial caveat. To the contented soul, wealth is the stepping stone to perfection. To the miser, it is the nearest avenue to hell.
So it depends on the person how it's used.
Absolutely. I would prefer to be honestly wealthy than miserably poor. This challenges the idea that there's virtue in poverty. He saw wealth, obtained honestly and used wisely as a path to higher development, enabling you to fulfill your purpose.
And he linked honesty directly to this. He said, to be honest is to be satisfied, having all, wanting nothing. If you find yourself in such a state, then you are honest. If not, the temptation of your soul is bound to make you dishonest.
That's fascinating. True honesty, for him, stems from contentment, from sufficiency, not just adhering to a rule book when you're desperate.
So what's the takeaway here?
It underscores the practical, even moral necessity of financial stability. For your business, profitability isn't just the goal. It's the means to achieve broader goals, sustain operations, make an impact, employ people.
Fuel for the mission.
Exactly. Personally, it encourages a proactive, ethical approach to financial well-being. Financial stability provides the foundation for personal growth, contribution, pursuing passions without that constant draining pressure of scarcity. And it stresses that real integrity often flows more easily from sufficiency, not constant coveting or desperation. It's a radical call to see prosperity as a tool for a higher purpose.
Okay, finally in this section, Garvey was acutely aware of internal threats, treachery from within, and also external manipulation through propaganda.
Yes, he lamented, the greatest stumbling block in the way of progress in the race has invariably come from within the race itself.
That's harsh, but maybe realistic in many contexts.
He was particularly critical of traitors, often, he said, men highest placed in education and society, who would compromise the rights of his race by becoming pets of some philanthropist of another race, basically selling out their people for patronage.
Putting personal gain above the collective.
That was his charge. What's really insightful is his observation that this internal division, this self-serving leadership, this manipulation, it can be more damaging than direct external attacks.
More insidious.
Exactly. He wasn't just worried about enemies outside. He was deeply concerned about those within who'd prioritize comfort or status over collective progress. And he saw propaganda as a key weapon in this.
How so?
He said, propaganda has done more to defeat the good intentions of races and nations than even open warfare, and that his own people suffered specifically from propaganda to destroy our hopes, our ambitions, and our confidence in self.
Undermining the very foundations we talked about earlier.
Precisely. He recognized it as this incredibly powerful, insidious tool to kill confidence and vision from the inside out.
So what was his defense against this? Internal treachery, external propaganda.
His solution was direct, almost ruthless. The new Negro refuses to take advice from anyone who has not felt with him and suffered with him.
That's a very clear filter for trust. Only trust those who've been in the trenches with you.
Essentially, yes. And this provides a really critical lens for evaluating leadership and influence in any context. In business, it means being sharp, being wary of internal politics, recognizing disingenuous advice, ensuring leaders truly serve the company's best interests, not just their own ego or pockets.
Looking for genuine alignment, shared sacrifice.
Especially in tough times, and personally. It's about developing strong discernment, critically evaluating information, especially what you consume from media, social circles, identifying those who might subtly undermine your confidence or goals, intentionally or not.
Filtering the noise.
And trusting advice primarily from those who genuinely understand and support your journey. Those who have felt with you, shown real commitment. It's a powerful lesson. Protect your vision, protect your ambition, from negativity, both internal and external.
Okay, let's move to Garvey's grander vision for the future. His strategic outlook, looking beyond immediate fights towards long-term liberation.
Yes, the big picture.
And at the heart of this was the absolute imperative of nationhood, self-determination. He declared, nationhood is the only means by which modern civilization can completely protect itself.
The only means, again, very absolute.
Independence of nationality, independence of government is the means of protecting not only the individual, but the group. Nationhood is the highest ideal of all peoples.
For Garvey, real liberty, real respect, it could only be secured through complete self-governance, a strong, unified national identity. This wasn't just some political dream. It was an existential necessity for survival, for flourishing in a world of competing powers. His grand vision, famously, was Africa for the Africans, building a great nation in Africa, a Negro empire, so strong and powerful as to compel the respect of mankind.
A place for self-development under favorable institutions.
Exactly. A place where black people could develop on his own lines under the protection of the most favorable democratic institutions. This idea of a self-determined, prosperous homeland was absolutely foundational to his movement.
Now, obviously, most of us aren't literally building nations day to day, so how does this grand principle translate? It seems like a huge leap from personal growth to building a nation.
It is a leap, but the underlying principle is key. It translates to establishing strong, independent entities that control their own destiny.
Okay. Like in business.
Yes. For a business, it means having a clear, unique identity, your brand, mission, values, striving for self-sufficiency in operations, controlling your supply chain, your IP, your core competencies, not being perpetually just a subcontractor or dependent on the whims of bigger players.
Building something that can stand on its own, dictate its own terms.
Exactly. Not just survive at someone else's pleasure. Think of Apple's tight control over its whole ecosystem, hardware, software, retail. They are fiercely independent. They've created their own kind of nationhood in the tech world.
It sounds like taking complete, almost sovereign ownership of your strategy and integrity.
That's a good way to put it. And personally, it's about establishing your own nationhood, defining your personal values, setting clear, non-negotiable boundaries, making sovereign decisions aligned with your highest ideals, free from undue external pressure,
Determining your own path.
protecting your well-being, pursuing your aspirations with integrity, like someone consciously building a personal brand based on their authentic values, even if it means saying no to popular but misaligned opportunities, setting strong boundaries around time and energy, aligning daily actions with core values. That's building personal nationhood, securing your inner and outer domain.
Garvey also had this keen eye for historical cycles, didn't he? And a stark call for preparation based on them.
Yes, he saw history as cyclical. He noted how empires, Roman, Grecian, rose and fell. It wasn't linear progress, it was dynamic. Human progress, he called it, the development of certain races as against the stagnation of others.
Development versus stagnation, competition and adaptation.
Right. And this led him to issue a stark warning. He said, the weaker peoples must die, and that if his people didn't get power and strength, now we shall be doomed to extermination.
That's heavy. Doomed to extermination.
It's brutal. He wasn't saying it was morally right, but that it was a historical pattern, a reality of global competition, and the stakes of stagnation were existential. You had to understand it to prepare for it.
And he saw a specific way forward.
Yes, he stressed that the battles of the future, whether they be physical or mental, will be fought on scientific lines.
Science and technology.
And the race that is able to produce the highest scientific development is the race that will ultimately rule.
So advancement in science and intellect is the new battlefield.
That was his conviction. He urged, let us prepare today. For the tomorrows and the lives of the nations will be so eventful that Negroes everywhere will be called upon to play their part in the survival of the fittest human group. A call to immediate strategic action based on this understanding of history and the future.
How does that apply now, this call for scientific preparation?
It translates directly to modern business strategy, constant innovation, heavy investment in R&D, actively preparing for market shifts, disruptive tech, evolving customer needs, ensuring long-term viability.
Avoiding complacency at all costs.
Because stagnation is death, basically.
Yep.
If you're not advancing, you're falling behind, becoming vulnerable. Personally, it emphasizes lifelong learning, critical thinking, navigating complex information. Proactively preparing by mastering new tech, acquiring interdisciplinary knowledge, cultivating adaptability, being anti-fragile.
Like a tech company pouring profits into R&D for quantum computing or AI, even if the payoff isn't immediate.
Exactly, looking steps ahead. Or an individual constantly updating skills, getting certifications, learning new languages or fields to stay competitive and valuable, not just relying on past achievements. That's Garvey's principle of scientific and intellectual preparation today.
And finally, a key part of Garvey's vision and his leadership was this incredible resilience, facing opposition head-on and inspiring others.
Absolutely central to him. He knew leadership was tough. Leadership means everything. Pain, blood, death, he said.
Wow.
He acknowledged opposition, jealousy, the plotting of men as just part of the deal for a leader, an inevitable burden.
But he didn't let it stop him.
Far from it. Despite that grim reality, despite immense personal sacrifice, he asserted, opposition shall make us work harder, shall bring us closer together so that as one man, the millions of us will march on toward that goal.
Turning opposition into fuel.
Yes, his personal mantra was almost defiant. Oppose me, and I fight the more. And if you want to find out the sterling worth of the Negro, oppose him. It shows this unshakable conviction, this understanding that resistance often galvanizes purpose, forges strength and unity. It's like flipping the script on adversity.
That's a powerful psychological stance.
Oh,
Obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're tests of character, fuel for the fire.
exactly. And he didn't just talk struggle. He painted this incredibly inspiring vision. A redeemed Africa with her dotted cities, with her beautiful civilization, with her millions of happy children going to and fro.
A positive, compelling future.
And he concluded with this uplifting call. Lift up yourselves, men. Take yourselves out of the mire and hitch your hopes to the stars. Yes, rise as high as the very stars themselves.
Hitch your hopes to the stars.
Let no man pull you down. Let no man destroy your ambition. Because man is but your companion, your equal. Man is your brother. He's not your lord. He's not your sovereign master.
Asserting fundamental equality and limitless potential. It's incredibly empowering.
It is. The vision wasn't just political. It was deeply spiritual. A call to unlock inherent human dignity. And this teaches us the paramount importance of grit, of tenacity in anything we pursue.
So in business?
View competition, downturns, failures, not as deterrents, but as motivators. Improve, innovate, adapt with more resolve, foster a resilient culture where setbacks are learning opportunities that make you stronger.
And personally.
Cultivate that inner strength that doesn't just withstand adversity, but actually thrives on it. Refuse to let criticism, rejection, setbacks kill your ambition. Keep aiming higher, knowing you're inherently capable, equal to any challenge, any person. Your worth isn't dictated by others or by circumstances.
Like that startup that pivots after failure, fueled by sheer determination.
Exactly. Or the individual overcoming huge personal obstacles by holding on to that unwavering belief in their own potential, seeing challenges as refining fire. Garvey's spirit really embodies that profound resilience.
It's that refusal to be defined or limited by circumstance.
And always reaching for the stars because, as he said, you are your own sovereign.
Well, what a journey. We've really dug deep into the profound teachings of Marcus Garvey, pulled straight from his philosophy and opinions.
From that unwavering call for individual self-reliance and ambition,
to his insistence on collective power, economic independence, ethical leadership. Garvey really laid out a blueprint for liberation that feels, well, timeless. It goes way beyond his specific historical moment.
Absolutely. While born from the unique struggles of the early 20th century, these principles, self-knowledge, organized strength, unwavering vision, they offer powerful universal lessons for anyone seeking to build, lead, thrive in business and personal life right now.
These aren't just historical footnotes.
Not at all. They're deeply applicable strategies for empowerment today.
Garvey fundamentally argued, didn't he, that the world does not count races and nations that have nothing. He believed power, especially economic, scientific power, was the only argument that really commanded respect.
He did. So, as you, our listener, reflect on this deep dive, here's a thought to chew on. How does Garvey's absolute insistence on acquiring and wielding various forms of power, not just asking for acknowledgement or justice through moral appeals, how does that challenge your own understanding of what it takes to achieve genuine success, respect, and self-determination in today's world?
That's a potent question. What really stood out to you from this deep dive? How will these insights maybe influence your next steps in your business, your personal growth?
We definitely encourage you to continue your own deep dive into these powerful, challenging ideas. There's so much there.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.